I'll follow up with a about building your COI network and networking and all of those things. So lots of things coming your way to help with that. But I always like to kind of go around and based on what we were talking about last week with referrals, does anyone want to share the implementation of the ABCDE experience or anything about maybe some success in the referral space that you had last week?
Well, I have a light bulb that went off that you told me yesterday. Since I have other people that I know are already insured with Country, I was like, well, who else do you know that I could help? Instead of going in there, I never thought about that until you said that. So I was like, oh, okay, well, now I'm going to be planting those seeds everywhere.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, Jimmy, everyone knows Jimmy around Bent. So, I mean, we were walked out to do some joint work, I think it was, and then came back. And I'm walking up the stairs to the office and someone's walking down, they're like, hey, Jimmy, I mean, everyone knows. So he had mentioned yesterday that there was a couple of people that were already insured with other country agents. And so of course, Jimmy's saying, hey, stay with them. We have great agents here at Bent. And then I told him, I just kind of mentioned, I said, well, here's the other angle with that is they know people and they know you. So how are you going to implement the referral, asking for referrals or just planting a seed, even with those people that are already insured with Country with other agents? Yeah, you may not get their business, but how can you pivot off of that? So still want to use them as a resource. Anyone else implement, even if it's just like the A or the B and C? Any feedback? You guys still working on it?
I I didn't get a chance to really implement it last week just because it was my short week, so I wasn't really in a whole lot. Haven't had client meetings since then, but I have some cars coming up in the next couple of days that I'm going to be trying to work on it on. So I haven't had the chance to really get into it yet.
Well, Jeremy, I will be able to be there to observe you do this on Friday. So we're doing some joint work and so I'm gonna leave that piece up to you. All right. Just kind of putting that on your plate right now. And it's a great time for it. If these are people that, yeah, they're in your book of business and you're having a review with them. So set the stage, the expectation of that. I love it. All right. Well, let's kind of transition into today's. So today's session really is focused on building your centers of influence and networking partnerships. Like there's several different ways you can call, people that send you business, right? So several different areas, venues where you meet these people. You could even say some of your friends that know a lot of people, those are centers of influence as well. A center of influence is anyone who knows a lot of people, right? And they're willing to help you build your business and they think of you. And that's what, you some people belong to a BNI or type of networking group where it's a leads group. It's like one insurance agent, that focuses on property casualty per group, or closed-ended. Nancy, would describe yours that you're involved in.
Well, the gal that runs it used to do BNI, but she bought, I believe it's a franchise called Network in Action, or it's NIA. So it's across the whole country. So she has several groups just in this area. And like you said, each one has like a lender, insurance professional, and any type of business really is welcome. So we have one person who installs window coverings, window shade. So it's super random, or a plumber, or there's just whoever's looking for leads. And so we really focus on what type of lead, what are we looking for, and that's what we try to help each other. Like who knows someone, You know, I say, I'm trying to work on commercial and I would like to meet some electricians. Then does anyone in the group know anybody who has an electrical business or a friend or a family member? And that's really, it's amazing. And even a group of 20 people, how many people can answer that? You know, they have someone or know someone. So, yeah.
I love it. So in your group, it's not duplicated, right? Your role,
Right.
what position do you hold? The property casualty or commercial?
But yeah, property casualty. The only thing I can't really talk about is life insurance, which is a bummer, but mainly because we have a financial advisor in the group and he also does life, and he was there
Okay.
for me. Granted, I met with him and he said he doesn't mind. So, he doesn't do too much life insurance, he said, but I mainly talk about, you know, right now I've been talking about wildfires because there's people in our group had to be evacuated. And so that sparked that, talking about how people are being non-renewed. And if you know anybody who's looking for coverage who might have been, you know, gotten their non-renewal letter, have them reach out. Hopefully I can help. And if I can't, I can find someone that can. People don't know where to turn when that happens. Pretty
Yeah.
scary, you know, to have 30 days to find coverage.
Right, yeah. So Nancy, I want to kind of unpack with you, and actually, anyone else belong to Elite's group at all? And we're talking not like Chamber of Commerce or anything like that. That's more open-ended. That we would call that, Rotary, Chamber of Commerce. Those are, hey, there's several real estate agents, there's several insurance agents. You go to mixers, you know, you get a hobnob with all sorts of people. This is a specific closed-ended leads group that you have a certain slate, like Nancy has the property casualty. Anyone else belong to one of those?
Not yet, but it's on my list of things to do.
Yeah.
Gary is in our local BNI, and then me as the associate agent, I just kind of reap the benefits for that without having to do the work for it. But he does BNI, and then I am not specifically part of anything myself, but he is.
Okay. Good. Well, Nancy, I'm gonna pick on you then, a little bit, just because I want to set the stage for, you know, Jeremy and Jimmy and eventually Matt and Gabby, you never know down your area, like what may be available, but how did you go out by searching for that leads group? Did it come to you? Did someone invite you? Did you look it up online? Like, how did you get associated with them?
Yeah, this particular group I was invited to come to it. They didn't have a spot up for an insurance agent, but they had a new group that was forming that was going to be a virtual group. And so that's what I was invited to meet with the Lisa McNeil. She's like the head gal who runs every single one of these groups. And she is like the networking queen. So generally the person who runs it really is someone you want to know, because she has given me more, you know, just hooking me and having coffee introductions, whether it be text or email, to other even insurance agents that are State Farm. She has groups and grants past she's connected me with. So I chose not to do the virtual because that's not really, I don't love doing online stuff as much. That's not really my personality. I like to meet people in person.
Yes.
So, but you know, I can do these things, but it's just not my first choice. Like if I was going to pay this much to invest my time, I didn't also want to do it. It was like at 7:30 a.m. You know, and I was thinking for my lifestyle, like I think I would just rather go to something, and so I'll wait till there's a spot. So she introduced me to a State Farm agent out of Grants Pass. He had the spot. And he was paying to be in two groups. He was actually driving to Medford and he was doing Grants Pass. And after meeting me, he gave me his spot. He said his time, he felt like he couldn't do both anymore and that he was already contemplating getting out of it and just really focusing on Grants Pass where his office was. And so at that point, I was given the opportunity to join that group that wasn't virtual. So I hopped on that and I love it. It's so much more fun. And we only meet once a month. BNI, from what I've heard, and I did do it way back when, over 10 years ago, it was a little more regimented and I felt like it had more structure. This is a little bit more fun. Like we do mixers and she gets all the groups together so I can still meet the other insurance agents and lenders and people from the other group. So she encourages you if you would like to be in multiple groups, whereas then lately there's been a whole thing that some people are in BNI and this, and that's a little bit of a conflict of interest that they would prefer because they don't want to take away from a leads group that you are supposed to be passing leads. So they really want you to focus on your group and make the best of it and make it worth everybody's time to invest into feeling like you're thinking of them first, you know? So, but it takes a while to build. I mean, to be honest, I didn't get a lot right in the beginning. Like you're only seeing them once a month. So then that's maybe the downside to it. You're not getting as much exposure and trust and knowing, you know, getting to meet people because you're only seeing them for an hour and a half once a month.
Well, and so what did you put into place in order to get, and this is encouraged through leads groups, right? So what did you do in order to get yourself familiar with people in the group and not just once a month?
Yes, that's right. So in addition to that, once a month fun meeting that we do at the end of that meeting, before you leave, you have to schedule, we call them one-to-one. So, you know, if I met Christine at the meeting, I would ask her, hey, when can we get together and have coffee? Or do you want to have lunch? I'd love to talk with you more and find more out about what you do. And so every month you pick 2 of the members from your group to do the one-to-one with. So that takes several months too to get through everybody, unless you were going to do more than 2. But most of us just do 2 a month.
No, it's perfect. I mean, that is where, in my experience, that is where the trust is built. And, when you sit down, you have coffee and you're asking all about them, like, how can I help you? Like, what is your focus? What is your ideal client? Like, how can I help you build your business? People love, people that want to help them. And that's where you get to share your personality and build connections and do all of that. So not only like in BNI, it was once a week, very regimented. I like this one, Nancy, where it's once a month. So it's not so, you feel like you can't miss, right? If you miss it, gosh, it's 2 months before you see somebody again. So I think there's more of a commitment in that space. But these leads groups, when we talked about the closed-ended, those are the ones that people are out helping you specifically build your business. And what Nancy mentioned about, the State Farm guy being in, the one in Medford and the one in Grants Pass, like that, when you're in more than one of those closed-end groups, it's really hard. That is a conflict, because if you come across somebody who says, hey, I need some blinds in my new home, and you have each group has a window coverings person, like, who are you gonna pick? So it's one of those things where it's like, yes, we get into one group, but and so Nancy mentioned that she was invited by somebody to come check out the group. You can also go online. I remember when I was in Nevada, when I first started as a country agent, like I just Googled. I don't know if Google was a thing back then, but it was like 2009. Anyway, so I just searched, and I searched women's business leads groups, and because I wanted to be one that it was just women, right? And so this popped up, and it was one where it was and she only had one. It was in Las Vegas, and this gal was like from, I want to say Spain or something like that. She came out. She lived in Vegas, and she wanted to build up this business, and she was a fanatic about following like her system of networking and how to have the one-on-ones. And she was very specific. We had to come in and do like a 2-hour training on, here's what you do in a one-on-one, here's what you do in a follow-up, here's how to whatever it was. So it was very structured in that way, because she trained you really well on how to network. And it takes, not everyone is geared towards that without learning how to network. Some people are very natural, right? Some people know a lot of people and they're just very natural with people. Others aren't, so they have to like really make an effort to teach themselves how to network properly. So that was one. Also through the Chamber of Commerce, like in Vegas, they had so many different chambers of commerces. So I don't know how in the towns that you guys are in, how that works, but in Las Vegas, they had the biggest Chamber of Commerce. They had the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the Asian Chamber of Commerce, the Women's Chamber of Commerce. They had all sorts of different ones. So you could, okay, which one do I want to go to? So I went to the Women's Chamber, but I was specifically involved in a professional leads group within the Women's Chamber. So these were like attorneys, doctors, dentists. I was the financial advisor. So these were like more high profile, I would say, than your Mary Kay salesperson, in a leads group. So, so it was that one was very lucrative. And then I had that other one that was more, any business could be in it. So I worked those too, but I got a ton of business from those because I made an effort to build relationships with the people in the group so that they were working for me and then I could work for them as well. So, the leads group part of the networking piece is very important. So, I know some of you, Jimmy and Jeremy, are already drinking out of a fire hydrant, trying to, service your book of business that you received and all of that. So I get it, but at some point, scheduling, hey, I'm going to make a commitment in August or September to visit a leads group just to dip my toe in, the waters of the networking world. All right. Anybody else have any experience with leads groups or chamber events or anything like that?
So I got a question for you in this day and age. Oh. There. Oh, so in this day and age, the business networking groups, there's so much more. Would you recommend more virtual, online, or in person in the community? Because I went to one when I was at another company and I started one with Rob. That's how I actually met Rob, and he started that one, and there was one that it was just very small, only like 4 people, and it was starting up, and it was just 2 hours in the middle of the day. And I was like, I can't do that in the middle of my day. I would rather be earlier in the morning or later or outside of regular business hours, because then that's in fact affecting what I need to do for servicing. But Nancy, you said you do yours in the morning, correct? Like that.
The BNI, because a
B-
lot of it's harder to get a spot in BNI, but I feel like a lot of those meetings are held at 7:30 in the morning weekly. If you could commit to that, mine is the only one that's in the morning for me is the chamber, and it's the chamber for the city of Central Point. So I chose where my office is instead of doing Medford. My office is in Central Point, so I think it's, I don't know if Sisters has one, and I'm sure Ben has several types, but for different areas. But I think that's crucial to know other business owners in the town or city where your office is.
Right.
My networking group is in the afternoon, and trust me, even like I went yesterday, the struggle was real. I have a zillion things to do. This is like, I just want to stay at my desk. I have to finish stuff, but I didn't. I packed it all up. I went to the meeting, put a smile on my face, brought a Diet Coke to get some energy, brought my laptop, and at 5 o'clock, I came right back to my house and turned on my computer and went to work. Because that's 2 hours out of my chunk of my day where the office, I have to close the office because I don't have anybody. And it's hard, but because it's such a time building activity, you have to start now. You just have to block the time, have to do it, because it's not instant. It's not going to work just right out of the gate. You might get lucky and get a referral, but it takes time. So you've got to put your feelers out. You got to plant the seeds like a farmer, put it out there and let it grow, because then just make the time for your other stuff, for your service work. Because this is the most lucrative part that'll help your business grow. I 100% believe in it, that Those are the leads you need to help your business. The service work's always gonna be there. It's not going anywhere. So
Yeah.
you've got to network. If you don't, people don't see you, they don't talk to you, they're not, you know, out and about, going to these mixers, going to events. It's just so amazing what that does for your business. Either one, start with one, just pick one and try it. You also have to like it, because, you know, and I do love this one, but lately I've just been really busy, more so than normal, and it's kind of one of those things you think you could put on the back burner. But if you do, you're just hurting yourself. Like Christine said, it's now a month away. If I miss it, I could potentially be missing out on someone new. And she does require us to have a substitute to hold you accountable. And so like at 3 in the afternoon, I'm obviously not going to find a substitute to go. So I was like, I have to go. I'm not a flaky person. I can't just no show, you know? So it
So
is
in person, I would say for sure, Jimmy, in person, like
Okay.
you can't get the same experience virtually that you
Right.
can in person, and it takes more effort, right? It takes more effort to go. I mean, how easy would it have been, Nancy, if if it was virtual? I mean, all right, I think we had a camera, I could not, you know, not show my face and multitask and do all,
Right.
like, it forces you to commit to that part of your business, which is a long-term play. When we look at the marketing strategies of how to build your business, you're talking about referrals, you're talking about centers of influence and networking. Those two were long-term plays. It takes a long time to develop relationships with business owners in the community, for them to trust you, for them to realize that you're the go-to, you know, and anyone they come across, oh, you gotta go see Nancy, like she's amazing, you know, and that takes physical interaction with people in order to get to that place with other business owners.
So what's a good size of a group that you would recommend to start? Because it was only like 4 people and it's been like 4 people for the last 6 months. So I'm like, I definitely don't want to be in there.
Yeah, so those are some things that like rise to the top when you're looking at, if you get invited to a leads group, okay, they usually give you what, 1 or 2 visits, and then you have to, if there's a spot open, and you know, whatever their process is to vet you as you vet them for two different times before you have to commit and then pay their membership fee and all of that. That's normally how that happens. But any time that I would visit a network, a leads group, the number one thing that I was looking for was how friendly the people were, right? So I'm brand new coming in, they've never seen me before. And if I go into a room and they're huddled around in different groups because they're talking to each other and they're already part of the group, and then no one approaches me, I'm brand new, no one's seen my face before, then that's not the group for me, right? But if I walk in and people break their huddles and they come over and introduce themselves and, hey, so great to meet you, tell me a little bit about yourself, you know, why are you here, you know, that type of thing. You know, check the box on approachability, you know, because this is about building networks. And if they're just talking amongst themselves and somebody new, like if nobody new is there and they're talking amongst themselves, then fine. But if somebody new walks in and they don't break and go talk to that person, then that's probably not a group that you want to be involved in, right? Because then it's more just clicky, right? And the other thing that I would also look for is just have on your radar as you're visiting, like how many actual leads are they passing? All right, so there's sometimes, you know, they take a portion of the meeting to say, all right, we're gonna go around and, you know, pass leads. And so when you get to that point, it's, okay, I have a lead for Mary Jo, and here's who it is, and here's a little bit about them. And then they, you know, write it on a piece of paper or whatever it is that their process is. But I went to this one, and it was, I have 10 leads, and it was to a chiropractor. Like this chiropractor said, I received 10 leads last week from this group. And it was the same people going in for three a day adjustments. I'm like, that's not a lead. Like it was a lead the first time that person went to you, but you can't say this person's seen you for 3 months, you know? So I'm just like, that's not real. Like, no, you know, so anyway, it's all about how friendly they are. It's all about how, the group is growing. So Jimmy, when you say that this group has been 4 people
6
for
months.
6 months, not a good growing group. You want a
Right.
group that's growing because, like Nancy said, there's like 20 plus people that are hearing what you need and who you're looking for, what you specialize in, and they're supposed to be, as you are, supposed to be out helping other people grow their businesses by thinking of them as they're out amongst people, right? So you want a growing group. It's really hard. I have, worked with agents in the past too, where they have said, hey, I'm going to start my own networking group. And I'm like, that takes hours of work, hours. Like it's so hard to do. So you really don't, you want to kind of, sometimes it's good to be on the ground floor of a group because then you're one of the, founders basically of it, if everyone knows you, but, I don't know. I would much rather walk into an established group already where I slide into one of the openings that they have. And then here's my other advice is to get on the board of directors as soon as you can. All right, because then that's where you get exposure, right? So if we take this up a notch in these groups, even chamber, all of that, get involved, be on the board. That's where you get the exposure to a lot of people. People see you every time then, you're on the board, you're the secretary, you're the vice president, you're the president, whatever that looks like. President, that's a lot of time. So I don't know at this stage if that's something you want to do, but you just want exposure for people so they get to know you.
And greeters is a lot less expensive, so maybe starting with something like that. It's like usually you can go to a few without even having to pay. Like they'll let you go and check out a greeters, and like I just got my renewal. It's $175 for the year, as opposed to the network in action is like $1,700 a year. So that's a huge, that's a big difference. Where greeters is just, it's not structured and it's not like passing leads for sure, but you might get them just naturally.
And you can't, so verify, because there's been a lot of changes and I'm not as involved in the strategic marketing and the rep choice, like rules and all of that as I used to be, but you can use your co-op money for your networking memberships, correct?
Correct. I just learned that more recently. I didn't know that last year, but I know it now. And I submit it once a month to show because I pay monthly for the network in action, and they give me reimburse half of that. So that's huge. And then like for the chamber, if I paid the $175, I could submit that and get half back. So out of that co-op. So that's a big deal. That
That's
helps.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good for you guys to know that now.
Excited. Love it. Yes, let's share all the things. So we've talked a lot about networking. We've talked about leads groups, and that really falls to that networking piece. It's like intentional going out and connecting with people. All right. And then on the other hand, we also have centers of influence, building up centers of influence. So I know you guys are probably familiar with, hey, the trifecta of getting somebody into a new home or purchasing a home, whatever that looks like, is you have to have the real estate agent, you have to have the lender, and you have to have insurance, right? So that's the trifecta. So when you're looking at building like very easy centers of influence, you're going to go to real estate agents, you're going to go to lenders. Like those are the two that should be at the top of the list. Like I said, anybody can be a center of influence if that person knows a lot of people, right? So what ideas do you guys have, or what has worked for you with the relationships with lenders and real estate agents so far? Any experience with that?
I used to train a lot of real estate agents, but now I'm just gonna reach out to their kid or to them and then letting them know I'm doing this line of work now. So
I've introduced myself to a couple in the area, but nothing's produced any referrals yet. But I think that you probably do it right to the fact too that don't want to see me be around for more than a month before they start.
Exactly. That makes sense, right?
Yeah,
As you would be if somebody, walked into, a real estate agent walked into you in your office and introduced themselves and said, hey, my office is down the road and, I'm sure that you would be hesitant to refer people because you don't know them. You don't know that person yet.
I think the good ones that understand insurance a little bit better, and I think that's part of what we can do is educate them on, hey, when you write that contract, it's not a bad idea to have them reach out to their insurance immediately to make sure whoever they're with, say they're with Progressive, for that one a dozen times, oh yeah, they couldn't write the house that they're purchasing. Oh, but they waited till the lender asked them for the insurance binder and they called and went, oh, we're 3 days away. Oh my gosh, they won't write this home. Why not? So my job now is to educate real estate agents to have your clients, and you're not wasting your time and they're not, down to the wire and have this, fire drill like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Lenders do more business or more transactions, I think. If you look up what would Chat GPT say, how many houses does the average realtor sell a year? Like an average realtor. That's 1 to 2 if they're average. And the top 10% obviously sells a ton more than that. But if you think about it, that's who you're going to real estate agents, they are great, some of them, but lenders are the ones who are doing a lot more loans per month. And they're the ones who need the insurance binder to close the deal, right? So yes, it's that trifecta of people, but the ones you want to educate are the real estate agents. And then the ones I think who give me more leads are the lenders. And that's just my opinion, but that just seems to be the way it plays out. And I think right now too, you always want to have a hook, right? So with the lender, just what Nancy explained, lenders need you no matter what. Like they need binders, they need insurance, that they need somebody to solve an issue that doesn't hang up the loan, right? They don't care who it's with. They're just like, we just got to get this in and don't mess with my, my percentage. Like, don't mess with that. But when you look at the person who has the best relationship with the client, the end user, the real estate agent. Right. Because they're the ones that have taken them around to all these houses and they know their family, they know everything. So the hook, and for all of you right now, the hook is wildfire. Like that's the hook. Yeah. Right. So it used to be when I was in Vegas, like, and I would coach, as a consultant, I would always say the hook is that you have the chance to run that report, the clue report within the home quote that lets us know if that house has had any major claims against it. So you can educate the real estate agent and the client, hey, they didn't disclose that there was a $30,000 water claim, 2 years ago. You might want to check to make sure it was properly repaired, all of those things before you purchase the home. So then you look valuable to the real estate agent and to the client in that case. So that used to be the hook because really there's nothing else, but here in this area, all over Southern Oregon, we have the hook of wildfire. So definitely think of ways that you can exploit that in a good way, right? With the real estate agents that that you're trying to build relationships with and consistent. And I agree with Nancy 100%. Like they're not the ones that are going to send you a ton of referrals, right? It's the lender, but here's where you get large exposure. So I know there's a couple agents in Bend that do this consistently. They offer CE courses to come in and train real estate agents on wildfire score or what to look for, different aspects of insurance in general. But really, you could, if you don't want to go to that extent of providing CE credit, and I don't even know how you set that up. We could look into that. But you could also just offer, hey, let me come into your broker office, and let's just say you have a COI that's a real estate agent in a large group that has like 20 real estate agents. All right. Come and do a lunch and learn.
hey, do you do weekly meetings where everyone comes? Like, is it Monday morning? Is it, do you do a lunch? Let me come in, I'll bring breakfast, I'll bring lunch, let me host it, but let me do some education on what to look for, how to best mitigate and overcome the insuring the home, with the wildfire. So that's a great idea. I know Fabian is gonna be doing that, and it's a way for you to not have to meet with 20 agents. You get in front of them all at one time, and then you look like an expert, right? Because and Country is a great company to work with when it comes to wildfire. And you can mention, here's our experience with other ones in our area, what's happening with, perfect for Jeremy and sisters, like Farmers is out, out of the area. So you'd want to educate the real estate agents on, hey, you just what Nancy said, here's the process. Like, when at this point, instead of getting to the end, let's use me at this point to, at least look up an address and see what the wildfire score is with Country. Now, it may be different with other insurers, but, and just because it looks, or it's a high wildfire score, doesn't mean it's an automatic reject. Like, we have to look at a lot of different things. So.
I use that, I let them use me, especially like if they're gonna get a new listing, I say, call me, I'll look it up. I actually quote them under my name, because I'm a Country client. So I start a new home quote, put in the address. You only have to fill out, pretty much 2 pages, get to that, boom, pops in the location. And I give them an idea what they're working with, or if they're gonna go out and show somebody 5 houses. I don't mind, it takes me 10 minutes, I can tell them, like, this one's gonna be tough. Maybe might want to eliminate that one. Like, that's gonna be a really hard one, or it's a 100. But it doesn't take that long to look up an address, like you said. So now the new hook is for the wildfire score. But I can't tell you how many say, but I heard you're not allowed to use the map. I thought that insurance carriers can't use the map. And it's like, well, I don't know what to say to that.
Yeah.
We look at protection class, but there's also a wildfire score. We do look at it. So I think it's beneficial. You're giving value to your service, and they might not use you every time, or they might not even get, that client doesn't like that house and they don't write the contract, but you get the next one because they're like, oh, she's so nice. She did that for me. I really appreciated her time, and I'm gonna tell my other real estate friends about her. Yeah, that's what I noticed. Real estate agents talk. They definitely share names. And like, oh, Country, they're still writing these. They can help you.
And that's when you look at the business, like building your business, what building blocks am I putting into place right now? When you look at COIs and networking, that is, like I mentioned, it's your long-term play. But if you look at the most successful Country agents, they do not go to leads group. Well, maybe they do. Like, that's if they're a standard, they've been there for years type of thinking. But they're not buying leads. They're not doing events. They're not doing, like, they have their network that build, like, they know like the back of their hand, and these people trust them, and they're sending them business. Like, you look at the Sean Connors and even Andy Musin, and they have specific people that they work with feed them leads all the time. But that did not happen overnight. That was a lot of work, laying a lot of groundwork, laying the foundation, lots of conversations, lots of happy hours, lots of coffees, all of that. And the benefit to you is you get to meet a lot of great people. It's no fun to sit in your office all day. Like, I don't want you doing that. You hire people to sit in the office and, do the service work and do all that. I want all of you out. Like, you need to be out. If you're an associate agent or an agent, like, that is what you should be doing, is you need to be out bringing business in, or whatever the arrangement is with your agent. But that's really the go-to is I want to see how are you out with people, so centers of influence, I'm trying to think of some other I have a lot of PDFs for you guys, and so I think one of the other questions I wanted to ask you, and I'll send all that stuff to you. Is, do any of you go and do, drop-ins, like, what they used to be called? You know, where you buy a box of donuts and drop them off to a real estate office or a lender's office, or pop buys where you have something of value that you're just like, hey, just remember me, here's my card, but here's some goodies, you know, getting to them through their stomach. Any other ideas, or do you guys do that?
Gary and I have done that a few times. I mean, and we did it more so like, hey, you guys going to be around? We just want to come say hi. We want to come learn about your business, whatever. And we tried, and I guess I don't know if it was the right way to do it or not, but we kind of just tried to keep it extremely casual, kind of try to keep business off of the table just so they see our faces, they know our faces, they know that we're nice people, we're fun to be around, and just like kind of get them with our names right here. So we've done that a couple of times. It's been a while since we've done it. We definitely haven't done it since we've opened this Merrill office here. There's not a whole lot of other businesses right here in Merrill. There's a lot of St. Paul's, but Merrill's teeny tiny. So, I mean, I guess that's probably something that we should start doing again. Yeah, but they worked out pretty well. The one that I specifically like keep remembering, that one worked out pretty well for us. I don't know if I froze on my account. I got froze for a second. Oh, yeah. So, so we have a little bit of experience in it. Probably need to hone in on doing it the right way, if there is a right way to do it. But
I know my dad mentioned when he first started, he did that a lot to get, either like sometimes the commercial, but more so like the employees' personal lines. So that's one of the strategies I'm planning on implementing now that I'm getting more involved. Is like I want to go basically, because I don't know how many people here have been to Sisters, but there's that main drag in town. Yeah, and I want to just go up and down it, shake hands, hand out business cards, that kind of thing. So my business card should be here next week, and then I'm probably gonna go do that.
That's great.
You have that cute coffee shop, you could bring stuff from the coffee shop, bring pastries, and then you're supporting their local business.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah, it's cute.
Yeah. And I think, and Gabby, thank you for sharing that, like that consistency is key. So when you look at, if you're gonna spend money to bring, like, go to the local bakery and, you know, buy a box of pastries and drop it off to whoever your key targets are that week, then if you're gonna do that one time, don't stop with just one time, because they're not gonna remember you just one time. You know, if you're consistent with it, and it doesn't have to be once a week. Like it can be every 3 weeks, and you could have different ones who should be out every week doing this, but with different people in the rotation, right? And different. So really think about. I want you to encourage you guys to think about what can I do with that idea. You know, but like I said, consistency is key, because when they see you consistently, they know every 3 weeks you're coming in, and whatever that may be. And maybe if it's a business and there's, you know, the person sitting in the front, you're trying to get to the people in the back for whatever reason, you know, employees, just like you said, Jeremy, then what is that person in the front? What's their favorite thing? You know, it's really get to know people too. Like what piques their interest? Is it a box of cookies, or is it, you know, something else? You know, so you're really just trying to massage those relationships and maybe try different things, and but be purposeful with it. When I first started, my leader, he had a specific regimen with just what I'm describing, but he used homemade pies. So it was called I forget what it was called. It was pie something. And so he was teaching all of us new agents, like, here's how you do this, you know, and it's, you know, it's basic, but you go in and you're bringing a homemade pie. And, but those could be expensive, you know, if your kid does a good one. But if you just do it one time, they may remember you, but they're not going to remember if you don't come back in. if you come back in on a consistent basis, they're like, oh my gosh, you're the pie person. Like that pie was amazing, so think of something that makes you stand out, but have your map, like get on your calendar and, make sure it's strategic and you're hitting ones that, I guess, businesses that you feel like, okay, what's in it for you to partner with this business and what's in it for them too. So, that's all part of going out and getting leads. This is boots on the ground, and I would definitely say, that is something that you should put into not only joining a leads group, how can I massage relationships with centers of influence, lenders and real estate agents, and how can I maybe on the commercial side go and visit some, commercial businesses that would be, if you're doing an effort in one of our target markets is electricians, it's plumbers, it's, flower shop, things like that. So maybe you commit to a 3-month effort where you're going to consistently visit a handful of florists or a handful of electricians and plumbers. So I don't know, that's just an idea of how to be consistent with that and knowing and then measure it. Like for 3 months, if you measure it, you're like, I'm having some good success here. Well, then don't stop, keep doing it. Maybe you spread it out a little bit more on how often you go in, but, it's being able to measure return on investment for those efforts.
Bring donuts, I'll keep it.
I know,
You
like
guys
what,
love donuts, right? You guys have a donut shop. We have a
Oh,
drive-through.
There's a donut shop I really like in Pine called, it's out at the little discount grocer, Wikia Junction, but they make some of the best donuts I've ever had, so.
well, thanks for sharing that, Jeremy.
Go.
Yeah.
For having us to stop by there.
Yeah, no, I love Wikia. Like back when I was living in Portland, anytime I come visit family, I'd make an effort to go to Wikia at least once for a donut, so.
That's funny. Very good. Well, so there you go. I mean, this is really what today was about, was just giving you some ideas or encouraging you to start this process, this marketing strategy of looking at, okay, what networking groups, looking at leads groups, looking at, all right, do I want to do some pop buys? Like this is starting that effort to be playing offense, to go out and try and bring business in, right? Your community needs to see your face. So, all right, Jimmy, you're going to have the hardest time with that only because Bend is so big.
Yeah.
Jeremy, sisters, think that, the more you get out, the more people will know you. Gabby, Merrill's really tiny, so everyone should know you. Nancy, Central Point, kind of same thing, like just, being out in the community and, having people know who you are, so. And Matt and Lapine, I mean, I know there's so much opportunity. All right, any questions you guys have for me before I let you go? Was it helpful?
Yes.
Got a lot of good ideas.
Thank you, Nancy, for sharing all your experience with your group. Glad you're having success with that. So,
Thanks for
all right.
the marketing co-op. That's good.
Yeah, right? I was thinking to tell me that last year.
Well, and it's just so much information, like seriously, like coming at you where you're like, yeah, I probably heard it. I don't remember that,
Right,
because
true.
it's just so much. So that's where, and it's one of those things with everything that's changed on that marketing side, where you have Haley Stevenfield as your resource for everything. If you have a question, Jeremy, Jimmy, like, how do I do that? Call her, text her, instant message her and find out, set some time with her so she can explain all of that. She's your main contact with that. So making sure that if you do want to do some marketing effort and verifying that it is co-op, that you can use your RevTrace dollars without assuming, and having them rejected. So for whatever reason, it's always helpful. All right. Expect a couple different emails from me to follow up. So you guys have something concrete, something to refer back to, some different ideas. I will include a recipe. Okay. So when I said, hey, what goodies do you guys do? When I was an agent, I was known for because I was consistent with visiting and dropping off the world's best chocolate chip cookies. All right, so I would make them at home. I mean, it was, and I would walk in and people would be like, did you bring the cookies? If you did the DoubleTree at all, they're those big, huge DoubleTree cookies. And they're chunky and they're chock full of oatmeal and chocolate chips and nuts and all of that. So, I became famous for that. So and it's not my recipe. One of my friends in Vegas, we would go to her house and she'd be like, I'll make some cookies. And she would pop those out. And we were just like, these are like melt in your mouth cookie. So I decided to use that as a marketing tactic. And I bought just some square, tall green, country green, like cookie bags off of Amazon or something like that. Then they had a little window in them. Like, and then I take I had stickers made that were like business cards, but they were stickers. And I put that on the front of the cookie bag. And I would just, pile up 8 or 10 bags of cookies on my day that I was going to be out. And I would just go drop them off. And so it was good. But I'll include that recipe as well in my coffee next. All righty. You know where to find me if you need me. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Okay, have a great week. All right. Bye.
Bye.